Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are completely tossing out the dry, theoretical textbooks, stepping away from all that rote memorization and diving headfirst into a real-world, day-in-the-life journey of a network engineer. Specifically, we're going to unpack Chapter 4 and do a complete walkthrough of these real-world examples. We're going to explore the critical Cisco IOS commands you actually need to know to survive, and honestly, to thrive out in the field. Whether you're unboxing a brand new switch for the first time or staring down a massive, panic-inducing network outage, this explainer is going to be your practical guide to just getting the job done.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our game plan for today, following a highly structured, chronological life cycle to completely demystify device configuration. Number 1, navigating Cisco IOS modes. Number 2, day 1 device hardening. 3, bringing up the network. 4, troubleshooting real-world outages. And finally, number 5, we'll wrap it all up with the golden sequence.
All right, Section 1, Navigating Cisco IOS Modes. Understanding exec modes.
So, you know that moment you first log into a Cisco router or switch? You're immediately met with a very specific prompt. And those symbols you see, they actually mean something very specific. If you see a standard greater than symbol, you're in user exec mode. It's basically read-only. You can peek around a little bit through the window, but you can't touch or change anything. When you escalate your privileges, that prompt changes to a hashtag or a pound sign. That is privileged exec mode. Now you've unlocked the door and have full diagnostic access. Finally, if you see the word config in parentheses, well, you've got the keys to the entire kingdom. That's global configuration mode, where you can make device-wide changes. Progressive access really is the name of the game here.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what that escalation looks like in a live, real-world scenario. You start right at step 1, landing at that router greater than prompt. You type the magic command enable to jump up into privileged exec. From there, you type configure terminal to enter global config mode. Now, check out step 4. You can actually make a change, like, say, setting the device hostname to core-switch1. Once you're done, you just type end to jump all the way back down to privileged exec. And finally, and honestly most importantly, you type copy run start to save that running configuration to NVRAM. That just means your changes will actually survive a reboot.
Moving on to Section 2, Day 1 Device Hardening. Secure before production.
Now that we know how to move around the command line, imagine you're unboxing a brand new switch. Before a single drop of actual network traffic flows through it, we absolutely must lock the device down. Why do we do things in this exact sequence? Because security is all about closing the doors before anyone even realizes they're open. Step 1, you set your enable secret. This protects that critical privileged exec mode we just talked about. Step 2, run service password encryption so that zero plaintext passwords ever show up in your config files. Steps 3 and 4, secure the physical console line with a password and an auto logout timer, so if you happen to walk away to grab a coffee, your session automatically times out. And only at step 5, after the entire house is locked up, do we finally save the configuration.
So the crucial point here is your order of operations. Think about it. A good configuration sets the enable secret password before saving anything. A bad configuration, running copy run start on a completely unsecured device. If you save an unsecured config to flash memory, you are literally creating a massive, persistent security risk. Anyone who reboots that device or pulls that config file will see wide open access, or even worse, unencrypted passwords. Always lock the door before you save the state of the house.
All right, Section 3, Bringing up the network. Configuring a WAN link.
The device is fully secured. Now it's time to actually connect our local remote site to an internet service provider. Here's your step-by-step walkthrough for bringing a port to life. First, enter interface mode for Gigabit Ethernet 0/0. Second, add a description. Seriously, never skip this. You want to document that this is the WAN link to ISP, so your future self knows exactly what this random cable does. Third, assign the IP address provided by the ISP. Fourth, run the no shutdown command. This is vital, guys, because Cisco interfaces are administratively down by default. They literally will not work until you explicitly tell them to turn on. Finally, step 5, verify your work using show IP interface brief to make sure the link actually shows up as up and up.
Now, while you're actively configuring out in the field, time is money. These are some essential life-saving shortcuts. If you ever blank on a command, just type a question mark for instant context-sensitive help. Use the tab key to autocomplete those long commands and avoid silly typos. And my absolute favorite trick, use the word do in front of your commands. For example, typing do show IP int brief lets you run a diagnostic check right from the middle of configuration mode.
It saves you the vital keystrokes of having to back all the way out to the privileged exec prompt just to check your work.
Which brings us to Section 4, Troubleshooting Real-World Outages, Finding the Fault.
All right, take a breath. We built the network, but networks break. It happens. Things have gone terribly wrong, users are screaming, and you, the engineer, must restore connectivity immediately. Imagine it. A remote site just suddenly goes completely dark. Pings are dropping left and right. The phone is ringing. What is your literal very first investigative move? Do you check the physical cables? Do you check the routing tables?
Well, instead of just wildly guessing, we follow a systematic 4-step workflow for investigating an outage. Step 1. Show IP route. Does the router even know how to physically get to the remote site? If the route is missing, boom, it's a routing fault. Step 2. Show IP interface brief. Check for down interfaces instantly. Step 3. Show CDP neighbors detail. This checks your layer 2 adjacency to see if you can physically see the upstream devices. And step 4. Show log. Review the syslog for link flaps, protocol resets, or maybe a security event that matches the exact timestamp of the outage.
Let's translate some of the cryptic gibberish you might see during that investigation into plain, actionable English. If you run show IP interface brief and see an interface is down/down, you immediately know you have a physical or data link problem on that specific port. If you run show interfaces and see a high number of CRC errors, that specifically points to a bad physical cable, a faulty SFP module, or a duplex mismatch that is literally corrupting the frames. And what if the interface is up but traffic is still failing? You check the IP layer for access control lists. An inbound ACL named block_all might be silently dropping your traffic right under your nose.
And finally, Section 5, the golden sequence, daily network rituals.
We've navigated, we've secured, we've built, and we've troubleshot. Let's synthesize everything we've learned today into a daily discipline to build a foundation for truly confident network operations. These are the 4 fundamental principles you must follow to avoid catastrophic downtime. First, master the big 3 show commands: interface brief, route, and running config. Honestly, they solve about 80% of your problems. Second, always save your config after a change. Unsaved work is gone forever on a reboot. Third, debug with extreme care. Always use an ACL filter when running a debug command. Otherwise, the sheer volume of packet tracing can overload the CPU and crash your entire production router. Nobody wants to be that person. And fourth, document everything using descriptions and remarks.
And that brings us to the ultimate ritual, the first 5 commands you should run on absolutely any unknown device. This perfectly caps off our day-in-the-life framework. 1. Show version, to check the uptime and find out exactly why it last reloaded. 2. Show IP int brief, to scan what's physically connected. 3. Show IP route, to understand where the traffic can actually go. 4. Show running config, to read the exact rules the box is currently following. And 5. Show log, to see what the device is complaining about. Memorize this sequence. It will save you.
You are now fully equipped with the practical tools of a real-world engineer. But I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative thought to chew on. You've mastered the first 5 commands to run during a standard outage. But what happens when that 5th command, checking the logs, doesn't show a bad cable, but instead reveals an active, malicious network breach happening in real time? Well, that requires a whole new set of advanced security commands. So keep learning, keep exploring, and I really hope this explainer gives you the confidence to dive right back into the command line.